At the risk of appearing stuck in the past, I'm always on the lookout for newer titles that, for lack of a better word, capture a certain quality that the 5th and 6th generation of console gaming had. Well, I mean, besides nostalgia. A few years ago, I stumbled upon an independently developed top-down racing game called Super Woden GP2. I had never heard of the first game, and some research will reveal that GP2 is actually the 3rd installment in the series, which started with the simply titled Woden GP. I gave Super Woden GP2 a shot back when it came out, and put it down fairly quickly. It must have been the combination of the camera angle plus the Gran Turismo-esque grind-heavy career mode that turned me away. Despite this, after seeing the trailer for Super Woden Rally Edge, I had a feeling things would be different this time. The most straightforward way I can describe this game is ColinmcCrae meets Gran Turismo with a sprinkle of Art of Rally for good measure. This is a rally game that I dare say is on the more purist side of the spectrum. With the exception of some extra game modes and challenges, the focus is entirely on the stage-by-stage rally racing experience. Right out the gate, I am incredibly pleased with the choices this game makes in refining and expanding upon the previous Super Woden titles. The camera angle is now much more conventional, sticking steadily behind your car and even allowing for 5 different viewing positions. You also get simple-to-follow pace notes, which only give you a basic idea of the upcoming section as opposed to bombarding you with numbers. Other than the viewing angle, you should feel right at home with Rally Edge if you've played almost any rally game, be it old or new. The extra game modes that I mentioned are nothing foreign to the world of arcade racing either. Head-to-head events are just like your typical super special stages where you race against a single opponent. There's also Gymkhana stages, which might be familiar to you if you've played Dirt Free, but they're not really the same thing. Gymkhana events are essentially just checkpoint challenges. There's no real incentive to drift or break any props like how you might expect. Standard Rally, Head-to-Head, and Gymkhana are what make up the Rally Edge mode, which is the real time sink here. Should you grow tired of that, there's still free smaller modes you could spend some time on. Arcade mode is a simple jump in and play affair, where you race against a timer between each checkpoint. Time trial mode is self-explanatory, although I do have a rather petty complaint towards it. I don't like how partaking in time trials still wears down your car's fuel quality, when you consider that these events have no bearing on your career progression. Anyway, season events offer a limited time challenge with a predetermined car and track. This is actually a pretty neat mode for grinding since you get paid every time you complete it. Otherwise, your real goal here is to place first on the leaderboard. Since Super Woden Rally Edge focuses exclusively on rally, I don't believe you get quite the same diversity in vehicle selection like you did in GP2. With that said, there's still more than enough cars to buy and upgrade, as well as ones that you can earn as rewards for completing certain events. In keeping with conveying a certain retro appeal, all of the cars here are limited to the 20th century. Honestly, I think it's been long enough that a few models from the 2000s wouldn't have hurt to include. Regardless, none of the cars are licensed, but that hasn't stopped the artists from making them near one-to-one replicas of their real-world inspirations. You get to take these machines around all of the expected locations around the globe for a rally game: Japan, Kenya, Sweden, Finland, Spain, Greece, France, and America. All of the locales are well represented. With respect to Rally Edge's art direction, although I think their gameplay isn't as well differentiated as it could be. I'm referring to the way different road surfaces handle. Sure, Sweden does feel a bit more slippy, but I generally didn't find much difference between most gravel or tarmac roads. Still, the elevation changes and severity of each turn is sufficient enough in setting each country apart. What's more, the length of the individual rally stages is just right. None of them are so short that you're begging for more, and are not so long that they wear you down mentally. Progress in Rally Edge is tracked via stars. The better you do in an event, the more stars you earn, which then enable you to compete in new events. Some of them require not just a star quota, but also a car in both a particular performance class as well as a horsepower limit. This is why you'll want to pay attention when upgrading your car and not just automatically applying the best possible engine or turbo upgrades. The fun comes from tuning your car to the very limit of what is allowed for a given event, so that you have the best possible chance of winning. That's not to say that Rally Edge is an unforgiving game. So far I've been having a pretty comfortable time making my way through each race on the normal difficulty. In a bit of a divisive move, however, you only get a limited number of restarts in the standard rally mode, very much like World Driver Championship for the Nintendo 64. Fortunately, this is really the only archaic design choice you'll find in Rally Edge. Generally, as long as you keep your car upgraded and with a clean change of oil, you shouldn't have too much trouble on the normal difficulty, so you might want to change this to provide a challenge should you seek it. I may have had some problems with the preceding Super Woden games, but they were never related to the driving. Rally Edge not only preserves that great feeling of weight and inertia that each car would have, but there's been some subtle tweaks that make the driving model almost perfect for the kind of game that this is. This is certainly not a rally simulation, but that's besides the point. The driving physics on display require practice and an anticipation of each corner relative to how your car behaves on the road. While each car is quite heavy, there is never any sense of clunkiness or boat-like handling. Mistakes are always at your hand, be it an overly cautious braking point or a ballsy dive into a deceptively sharp corner. Although your HUD shows several warning icons and even the statistics menu indicates that it's possible for your car to break down, there doesn't appear to be any mechanical damage. Overall, I would say that crashing is not heavily punished, aside from losing some speed, of course. Super Woden Rally Edge presents itself in that pseudo-retro look that so many games have adopted as of late. Most textures are sharp and the menu designs are clean, but the car models are just a step above an original PlayStation game. During races, there's absolutely no poppin', yet trees are still flat and even the spectators are little pixel people. Generally, this game is quite good looking, although I would really prefer if you could disable some of the obnoxious post-processing effects. Even when you set the video mode to basic, there's still an unnecessary amount of chromatic aberration and an overbearing fuzziness to the image, which clashes with how crisp the menus and icons look. As for sound, exhaust notes sound a tad exaggerated to me, but are still satisfying to listen to. Best of all is the tire screeches, which are pitched in perfect accordance to how intensely you slide around the course. The soundtrack is full of energy and a variety of genres, ranging anywhere from drum and bass, fusion, dance, and even some metal. I personally like my rally games in silence, but it's good stuff on its own. I bought Super Woden Rally Edge for just $8, but I feel as though I practically got away with a bank heist. This game will keep you engaged with its wealth of content and satisfying core gameplay for a very long time. What's probably my favorite thing about it is in its identity. Look, old school Rally is pretty great too, but it's outright screaming to be renamed to colinmcrae Rally 2.0, but on Steam. Meanwhile, Rally Edge takes clear inspiration from both its forefathers and contemporaries, but never loses its distinct look and feel. Needless to say, I recommend Super Woden Rally Edge, and I'm eager to see what kind of post-launch support it receives.